Yo, what's up? It's your boy E.T. Welcome to another edition of Mass Impact, the educational podcast. Now, look, the reason why I started this, I truly believe that education is the way to close the gap, the wealth gap, the digital divide gap, the opportunity gap. Look, the American dream gap. Can I be honest? Everybody's not experiencing the American dream in the way it's supposed to be experienced. So the reason why we started the Mass Impact, the educational podcast, is to close that gap. Now look, mass is simple. It means motivate, actionable steps, which means what? We're going to give you strategies every week. So we're not just going to motivate you and inspire you, which is important, but we're going to give you actionable steps. And look, it's a support system, y'all. Thus Mass. It's your boy E.T. Now you know. Let's go.
Yo, what's up? What's up? What's up? It's your boy E.T., man. Super excited. I was telling somebody the other day, and I say this with all due respect, but I was like, the day Dr. Martin Luther King, got assassinated, I'm sure, that week he had a schedule, so it's not a schedule that wakes us up. It's the creator that wakes us up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm super excited. I don't know why we all got a chance to be up today and be on this podcast, but I'm super pumped up, excited. We're about to drop some gems that's going to help somebody. Like, we're going to say something today that's going to inspire somebody to keep going as an educator, and some kid's life going to be saved because of that educator. So, man, just super excited to be here. Mass. We don't want to have a little impact, y'all. This is mass impact. We're not trying to do a small thing. We're trying to do something big. So we're here to motivate you, inspire you. That's so important. I say it all the time. It was funny. I did some work for Keon Henderson, and he was saying, I called E the other day, and I was like, how you doing, E? He was like, man, he was saying he wasn't having the best day ever, but he was like, yo, how you doing? He was like, yo, it's crazy. He still had energy, even though he was saying it wasn't the best day. And I was like, absolutely. Why? Because we got to keep that fire burning inside of us. And then, of course, the action steps is one thing to be fired up, but you have to do something with that energy. And then we all need support. We all need a support system. I don't care who you are. I don't care how deep you are. We all need somebody to lean on, and people need us at some point to lean on. And so I'm super excited to be here as always. Y'all see the squad. We added one. We added one to the squad today. So it's about to be dope. Get your pen, get your pad, right? And Katie, I forget to ask sometimes, but somebody's been watching this and they're like, I want to get in contact with you guys. I want you guys at our school. I keep hearing about this playbook. I keep hearing about how schools are being revolutionized with the work that you guys are doing. And I want my school to be a part of that. How do they get in contact with us?
Yes. So they can reach out to us by email at info@massimpacteducation.com.
All right. Y'all heard it. Can you say it one more time?
Yep. info@massimpacteducation.com.
Beautiful. All right. What are we talking about today with these beautiful minds? Where are we going?
Yeah, I'm excited. We pulled Aaron in here to join us today because he just helped lead a phenomenal trip we're going to talk about today with the Youth Exposure Program through the School Days Foundation. And Sam and Vondale were there too. I was not there, and we're going to get to quiz them on how it went and get all the details we've already heard, but we want to share. They just took a group of kids to Dubai with the School Days Foundation Youth Exposure Program. So we want to hear all about the impact of that.
No doubt. So can we do this? Can we start off, I guess Sam, is our expert resident, in terms of exposure. We know Jamal's big thing is your level of exposure, determines your level of success. And I think that's so critical. Sam, can you just talk to us before we talk about Dubai? Why is it so important, for our babies to leave, their current, resident, and go out and see the world?
Yeah, actually, E, I remember something that you said several years ago when you came to visit one of the first groups that traveled to Costa Rica. And you said, once you see different things, once you're exposed to different things, have different experiences, your mind never goes back to its original dimensions. And so I think that it is so important for every experience, every brand new experience. Like students, youth, people's brains are just growing in different ways and different expectations for themselves and different dreams. And I just think that it's super important. And this was a super unique experience, right? To go all the way across the world. Personally, that's the furthest that I've ever been. And so, you know, it really helps students gain confidence and dream bigger and understand that there's a whole world out there, and the world is theirs for sure.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, you know, that language is so important, right? Language is so important. And I always tell people, depending on what, you know, academic background you have, whatever field of study you're in, is a particular language, right? And so for me, I just remember the word that I used to always hear in education, you know, efficacy. You know what I'm saying? Like that was a word that I would always hear, you know, and, you know, it was something that I would study, you know. And so I think one of the things that the connection I want to make with these trips for our teachers, you know, she used the word confidence. And sometimes that's not necessarily a word you hear in academia. Like you don't hear the word confidence. You know, people talk about the power of confidence, right? But
it's hard to measure.
It is. But I think what teachers need to understand, if you talk about efficacy, if you talk about autonomy, you know, if you can help students build their confidence, a lot of the work that you are having a difficult time getting them to do, like I promise you, like once they take ownership of their own academic experience, like it's a wrap after that. And I'm telling you teachers, because I remember me K through 12. It was like, whatever, I'm just doing this because I have to. But I remember going to Oakwood and I remember, you know, them showing me like who I was with education, like where I come from, Africa, you know, Timbuktu, you know, the kings and the queen. Like, I was like, oh, give me the books. I can do this by myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need your help. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just shifted from now my teacher is a coach and I'm an active player. You know what I'm saying? You know, and so I want you guys to make the connection. So we're not saying you got to take kids to Dubai, but whatever activities you could do to get them exposure to something different so you can help them to that click that, oh man, I do like learning. Now, maybe not in that particular way, but I do like learning this way. I'm telling you, once you can get that confidence going, there were so many times, you know, I didn't want to raise my hand. I didn't want to feel stupid. Like I was trapped. I was literally in academia, but afraid to raise my hand. I was afraid that the students would laugh at me. I was afraid that the teacher might joke me, you know, and so I would just sit there and I don't ever remember really being engaged K through 12. But again, when I got to college, you know, and people were like, man, bump that. So what you like, you're dumb. Like, of course you are. You never studied it. You never learned it. So as teachers, I'm telling you, these trips are not just, oh, they're interrupting instruction time. What instruction time? They're not getting instructed anyway. So it's like, well, it's
not engaged. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, if they're not engaged, it's irrelevant anyway. Mm-hmm. And you got to try to find a way to get them engaged. And sometimes these type of activities are the things that that can do that. So let's talk, guys. You know, when they went, she talked about confidence. What were some of the other things you saw, you know, in that 8-day span that really got a light bulb going in these kids?
Yeah. So before I answer that, one thing that I want to attribute to what you were just saying about confidence, and for people who still may not be getting it, if you're a sports fan in basketball, when somebody's like missing a bunch of shots, they always say, stop shooting, drive the ball to the hole and get a layup, or go to the free throw line. And then all of a sudden, it's crazy how once you hit a free throw or a layup, next time you shoot a three, it drops, right? So it's the exact same thing of what you're saying as, okay, I never thought I could do this, but now all of a sudden you have a teacher who lets you see the own confidence in yourself. She might work through a few problems with you, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, that's simple. Like I got this now. So that's kind of the what I'm thinking when you were saying was that exactly. So I couldn't agree more with that. But before I actually answer, E, I think we need to go back a little bit just to ask you specifically these questions, just so we can, give the viewers a full scope picture of exactly what's going on. Is one, and I know you spoke a little bit to, the importance of it, but why, one, did you pick Dubai of all places? It wasn't the cheapest place we could have visited with these students. And then two, just, super big picture, what did you see from Dubai in general, and the youth exposure program? What was your overall goal?
In school, one of the things that I hated about school, and I didn't hate everything about it, but I hated the fact that, it wasn't practical, in that when I started traveling the world, I was like, I love geography. I love geography. When we were in the classroom, they never brought it to life like this. They just made it seem like some black and white piece of paper. Like I remember when I was in college, my freshman year, during one of the holidays, we went to Miami, and I didn't want to take the kids to Miami, you know what I'm saying? But for me, that was my first aha moment. But I literally went home with my friends, and they had palm trees at gas stations. It blew my mind. I was like, whoa, this is unbelievable. Like, they had palm trees at the grocery store. I'm like, this is crazy. We were going up the freeway, US 1, in Cali. I forgot what it was in Miami, but it's like ocean. Like, you could see the ocean. They had cruise line ships. I was like, yo, y'all live here? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is like, you can see fruit growing off of trees. And I remember going back to school, really yo, it's showtime. Like, I've seen the world. Like, I'm ready now. Like, I didn't know this existed. I was stuck in, no disrespect, but I was stuck, in the urban community, Chicago, Detroit, Gary, like my whole life. I was in Gary, I was in Chicago, I was in Detroit, like my whole life, that was my experience. So for me, I knew that there are a group of kids who don't necessarily learn from just textbooks. There are a group of kids that love textbooks. There are a group of people that love structure. But there are other group of people that they have to see it and touch it and feel it. And once they can touch it, feel it, and see it, then they can come back and go, let's go. So for me,
it's real.
Miami did that for me, but I couldn't take them to Miami because I had been to Dubai, and Dubai had done something for me as an adult that blew my mind. Like, I'm talking about, I have been the #1 motivational speaker in the world. Like, I've been traveling and speaking. I had seen all kind of stuff. When I went to Dubai, and I went to Abu Dhabi and saw the temple, I was like, oh, I've never seen nothing like this. I've never seen anything like this in my life. When you would go to the mall, I'm like, this is a mall? Marble everywhere, crystal, gold. I'm like, this is a shopping mall? This is Vondale, I went to the Evergreen Plaza when I was coming up. You know what I'm saying? The Evergreen Plaza wasn't, it wasn't marble floors, And so I said to myself, Eric, you got to take them to the best place that you've ever been, to give them the most exposure you've ever given them, so they can come back home and have their minds blown. And I wanted them to come back to Chicago, Battle Creek, Lansing, wherever. And I wanted Battle Creek and Lansing to be Dubai. Like, that's what I wanted you to see in your mind, was Dubai, so you could do what you needed to do, to go back to school, to stay out of trouble, to do whatever you needed to do to get yourself back to Dubai one day.
Love it. Yeah, no, that's perfect segue to actually what I was thinking is, as far as when it came to the trip, the exposure piece. So I just want to second what you said. Me, as a grown adult, I couldn't agree more with how blown away I was just from Dubai. It literally is just like high class, everything, customer service, just high class. People super friendly. It's like all type of people there. I didn't realize how many different cultures live there. I think they told us the number. Sam, do you remember what the tour guy said? 197 different cultures there, or something crazy like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So me being in education / nonprofit world, whatever you want to call it, and also having led a ton of trips over the years to different places, I just want to say nothing even scratches the surface of what Dubai was. So I walked in and I knew that I probably had seen more than a lot of the kids had seen, just because I should say more experienced as opposed
Age,
to older. So when I walked in, I was like totally blown away. I mean, even when you're just getting picked up and driving through the city, you seeing all, all the sights to see just from an aesthetic standpoint. But I was just thinking like, wow, I was like so excited for the kids to get there to see that. And the second they hopped off the Sprinter bus when they got there, it was everything I could have thought of for them and more. Like it was almost like they weren't even on Earth. It was like another galaxy. And I promise I am not hyping that up one bit. Like it was almost like they were in a totally different universe. Wow. So for me, as much as we want to talk to them, and we did like a bunch of working sessions there, and just little activities with the kids. The job was done then, E. Like once they hopped off, looked up at the Atlantis resort we was at, it was over from there. And I was like, look, I don't know how much more value I can add. I'm not that deep with these words to say anything deeper than what they're seeing right here. I almost just wanted to, like, right when they walk in, I wish I would have had the mic just to be like, it's over. Let's just enjoy ourselves now because the job is accomplished. So just big picture standpoint, that there was enough for me. I'll let Vondell jump in if he wants to, though.
You know what? As I think Train just kind of just shared high level everything that I was thinking. But what was crazy was the aftermath when we got back to Chicago.
Ooh, that's what I want to hear about.
The share outs, the storytelling, what they were describing to people who haven't been to Dubai. And E, you remember we were at the church,
yes,
and I had the brothers stand up, and they had the whole get up on on the south side of Chicago off Michigan Avenue. And, and them sharing about waking up and not hearing sirens. Them sharing what Dubai taught me were the intangibles, these soft skills, right? Like who you need to be around and who you shouldn't be around. Like, because I saw such a high level of class and the people made me feel like I was somebody special. I know how people should treat me when I'm here. I know how I should treat other people when I'm here in Chicago. It gave me a whole different way I should be moving. And so the world is a place where you can experience a whole world that can transform you as a person.
Right.
And me, the unfolding of that trip to Dubai is still being manifested in the young men. And therefore they're testifying on what happened to them. And man, it's just beautiful to watch. So they've already spoken to about 1,000 people in different groups. I'm getting them up, speaking about their experience in Dubai, and it's marvelous.
I love it. I love it.
If I could jump in really quick, just Vondell, to go off what you were saying about the share outs, because I definitely think that's deep, right? That's a important part, just making sure they're getting out of it what we thought, which I already knew that they did. But I want Sam to jump in here because the last day there, and I think it's so great to do it on that last day. We have and I'll let Sam talk about it, but we have a moment where we all get together, and I think we sat out there for probably about an hour. We just found our own location, and Samantha has an activity that she does with them that was, it was almost like some tears flowing out there, and just remember that some of these kids had just met each other a week prior, so in that short amount of time, the students had become very close. By the end, it was so good to see the different students from different groups. Like, it wasn't just like all two groups hanging out together. Like, it was a kid from this group and a kid from this group who kind of like paired up and were off doing their thing, and they didn't know each other just a week before that. So Samantha, if you could just speak to the idea behind that session and just tell everything, what you did, the mementos that you gave away, things like that, and, kind of how that whole thing unraveled.
Yes. Well, first, just shout out to Train, Vondell, Jamie, the Sexton crew. Just traveling out there, right? There's a lot of problem solving, a lot of critical thinking, which flight we got to get over here, like all of that, the ups and downs. And so that in itself, I think, teaches a lot of lessons. So just shout out to you all for managing all the logistics there. And, you know, just seeing the kids, like you said, Train went to go pick them up, and I was on camera duty when they walked down the red carpet into the hotel, and that was just phenomenal. But yeah, so on the last night, we gave a little memento, a keychain to every kid, and they were able to just kind of take some moments and just reflect on what this experience has meant to them, so that every time they look at that keychain, they can hold that keychain with them and just remember their journey and what it represents. And so we all went around and shared out afterwards. And so I think, some of the themes there, I think, like Vondell, I knew you'd go back and do that. And that's just, the kids being able to get up there and share their experience. I think like one of the things that they were processing is, how do I go back and I'm going to be bragging about my trip, and people aren't going to want to listen to me, and like, they don't understand this experience. And so we really had to process, like, no, it's not about bragging. It's about the impact that you can make when they see, hey, like, look at you. You're my friend. You're my family member. You went all the way to Dubai and you had this experience. Like, I can do this too. I want to do this. How can I learn from you and all of that? And so really kind of flipping that mindset of like, it's not bragging, it's sharing, and that you can have an impact and a generational impact on young folks, older folks. It doesn't even matter, but you can have that impact. And I also think that there was a theme there of still, you just talked about earlier, of just having these new experiences where you're just like, whoa, well, I've never been to this type of place. I don't know anybody that's ever been to this type of place. And so like, I belong here and I deserve this. And so I think that they were processing a lot of that, of like, every day they're like, I have to remind myself I belong here and I deserve this. And that just gives me chills, because you created that opportunity for them to be there and see themselves in that space, and that they deserve to be there, and that they belong there. And that is going to have an everlasting impact on their lives. And so I think like those were some themes that came out of that session, for sure.
And that made me think about a few of the things, and we won't share everything, but just a few of the things that the students shared that like almost had me like emotional. Was one of the students did say that, and they were like, we were asking him like, just tell us like what you're feeling right now in this moment. And he said, I like can't get over the fact that it's me here. And I feel like, why me? Like almost in a negative way. Like, why do I get to come here and it's not somebody else? And then he said, but I have to keep reminding myself I deserve this because I've worked hard. I've done what I was supposed to do. And I was like, wow. We had another kid share out and say, and this kid was a really brilliant kid as far as when it comes to like academics, right? He's like a grade ahead or something like that, and he's going to graduate early, all this cool stuff. But he said, I still, everybody thinks I'm this and that, but I still didn't know what I want to do in life after, all my academic success. He said, but now I know what I want to do. Whatever job I have, I know I want to travel because I can't not do this, So I was like, wow. So when the kids were sharing out like some of those deep thoughts, I was like, man, like they're opening up to us, and we're really getting the real deal, kind of pulling the curtain back and seeing what's going on. So that was beautiful to see. I was like, wow, like they're actually doing some self-reflection here, which was the ultimate goal of the trip.
Yeah. And you guys are paying attention. This is my allergies that you're seeing. I'm in Houston, and my allergies are acting up here. So that's
as they should be.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
Just jumping in really quickly. Also, just huge shout out to the Champs kids, to the Sexton kids. I mean, and that was the final processing session, but we did processing sessions throughout the duration of the trip. Phenomenal questions. I mean, phenomenal discussion questions. And so shout out to Abby. She was our videographer. And, after we were talking to Abby, we were like, we got to get Abby in front of the kids. Like, and so we said, Abby, come back from behind that video, the video camera, and come up here. And so she spoke about, you know, her experience as a Black woman from America, living in America, and her making the intentional decision to move to Dubai to become a teacher. And she had been there for 5 years. And so she just talked about, you know, America wasn't giving me what I wanted. So I took control of my life and I made a different decision. And you are in control of your life and you can make decisions for your life. And so, oh man, I mean, the kids were asking so many questions. You know, going back to what you all were just talking about earlier, I mean, like blown away about like the gun, you know, there's not a presence of guns there. And like, what? There's no presence of guns here? And what does that look like? And so like, oh, so if somebody had a conceal and carry in America, they can't have it over here. Like, you know, just blown away by a different environment, different culture. And we just had a high level of discussion throughout the whole time. And the kids' brains were just in all different directions, just phenomenal questions and discussion. I couldn't speak to them.
Vondell, if you could share one of the most profound statements that one of your students made. He said he woke up to not something. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, them sirens. He woke up in peace. And, you know, it's just amazing when you're constantly around something, an environment. We tend to normalize these things that are abnormal, you know. And so for him to wake up and look out the window and see palm trees and a beautiful skyline in the background with water in front of you, it was so abnormal to him that he was just like, this can't be true. Am I dreaming? Question mark. Am I dreaming? Is this a dream? Pinch myself, wake me up. But it goes to show you that, you know, when we are taking kids, especially from, you know, cities that don't get a chance or opportunities to visit places like Dubai, how much more of it we need to do. And that's why it's important to give and go seed into School Days Foundation so we can provide these opportunities for more kids. So for me to hear it, and I knew, because we had a small debrief, and all of them was like, yeah, didn't you notice that? And they were asking each other, like, we didn't wake up with sirens. It was like, yeah. And it felt so good. And I said, that should be normal. We shouldn't be waking up every, you know, second in the middle of the night because of trauma, because of sirens, because of gunshots. Yeah. And so, man, that was really enlightening.
I want to brag. I want to brag real quick. You guys saw Beyonce just recently performed in Dubai.
24 million.
Yeah, 24 million. And she performed at the very property that those kids stayed at.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, really? She was there?
She was at Atlantis.
Yeah. So if you looked at your room, from your room, you saw like right across, they were building another structure. You saw where it was like the little squares or rectangles. Yeah. So that's where she performed.
Oh, yeah. That building was amazing.
That's where she performed at. So the kids is on the same property that she was. But you know what this trip did for me? And I want to say this to every educator that's listening, every administrator, you know, level up. You know, level up. You know, a lot of times in America, you know, we do a lot of finger pointing. We do a lot of blaming, you know. But this trip showed me why I need to be a billionaire. You know, this trip showed me like, yo, E, you got to be a billionaire, you know, because I don't want to cut corners. You know, a lot of people, when I was talking about it, you know, even people that was helping us from over there, and they don't mean any harm, but it was like, yo, it's hotels that's way less expensive. I was like, they could go to the Holiday Inn Express in America. I mean, what would you go over there for and not experience the experience? Like, it don't make sense. Don't go over there if you're not going to go over there. You know, like, don't go to Dubai just to say you went to Dubai and you went to Holiday Inn Express. Like, you can have that experience in America. You cannot have the largest water park experience in America. It doesn't exist. So if you go to Dubai, you need to go where and so for me, man, you know, it's really God just showing me like, you were fearfully and wonderfully made. And if you get to your highest level, Eric, you're going to be able to bless so many people if you can get to your highest level, you know. And I was talking with Jamil yesterday. She asked all her guests, you know, a question. And she says, Eric, at what point in your life did you become unbothered? and I told her, I was like, I probably about 6 years ago when I started doing corporate work, because at first I was like the same thing. Like, do I belong here? This is a white male, dominant industry. Do I belong here? And I had to realize, forgive me, I was like, yeah, you belong here, and you belong here because you are pushing people to be what God would have them to be. And whether they feel uncomfortable about that or not, that has nothing to do with it. Like, there are gentlemen who are making 7 figures. They're 7-figure earners. They're 8-figure earners. But I challenge them, are you a 7-figure husband? Are you a 7-figure dad? Like, nobody cares about, no, your kids don't care about your money, And so I told her, I was like, yo, she's like, E.T. is bothered? I was like, yeah, I sometimes I get bothered. You know what I'm saying? Like, meaning that I'm concerned about what you think about, and I'm like, kids have also helped me to become unbothered. It's like some of the bureaucracy and some of the stuff that we deal with. I'm like, yo, I'm not dealing with that no more. I don't have time for that. I have kids who need to see the world, and I'm going to use my time making sure that they get to see the world. So I'm not really interested in y'all fussing and fighting or, these policies that like, I'm not interested in that. The egos and the who's in power, who's in control. I'm like, I just believe if I do what God would have me to do with a group of people that believe in God and want to do what God would have them to do, we can get past all of this stuff that would make Abby want to go to Dubai. It's like, you live in America. Why should you even leave a place with so many opportunities? Because there's just so much other garbage, so much other stuff that, my wife was saying to me the other day. She's like, man, I admire the fact that, you speak to people who sometimes don't speak to you because of the color of your skin. And she was like, did you see the way that woman looked at you? I was like, absolutely not, I didn't. Because I'm not concerned about how she sees the world and how she sees me. Like, you're not about to make me stop smiling. You're not about to make me unhappy. You're not about to make me a colorist. Like, I'm not into that. So you're not about to make me. And so when those kids went, man, I turned up. You know what I'm saying? I turned up. I was like, yo, E, we can, like, we have the system and the structure to do it. Now we just need to continue to expand, and grow, and, somebody said, well, this many to me, I was like, all right, we got to figure out, we got to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? We serve the Most High God. We got to figure it out. But something that I want to see happen, even in my death, I'm talking to my daughter like, yo, do what you got to do, but make sure these kids keep having this experience long after I'm gone. And you teach your kids and the kids that coming after those kids, like, this is something that has to continue. Kids have to get out of their cities and they have to go see the world, and they have to come back and go to school and take school serious. They have to learn to articulate themselves. They got to learn to become critical thinkers and problem solvers, So I'm telling you, this trip has done a lot. For me, of course, we're taking a group to the Super Bowl and, whatever you want to call it, expensive, like however you see it, but for me, I'm like, no, we got to do it. We got to do whatever it takes, because these kids are so used to getting promised stuff from just going to McDonald's and they don't get to go, or promise that dad's coming back and he don't never come back, just crazy. Like, their experience is just so crazy. So I'm like, hey, you will never be able to say somebody didn't look out for you. You'll never be able to say we didn't keep our word to you. Like, you'll never be able to say, somebody didn't create a bridge to get you from where you are to where you need to be. So I'm telling you, I didn't physically go this time because of circumstances, but I went. You know what I'm saying? Like, I went in my spirit, in my heart, I went. And I was like, yo, we got to make sure that we do what we need to do. So I'm just saying to some educator out there, man, stop complaining about policy and, your school building or the environment your school is in. Like, stop, start praying, start believing, and start doing your part. You said Dubai is too big. I was getting kids pizza and hot Cheetos and taking them to the movies, and taking them bowling. Like, it didn't start with Dubai, but I was faithful over a few.
Yep.
God made us ruler over many. So I just wanted to say that, like, for educators, like, this is something that you too can do. none of us are here. You heard what Train was saying. Like, we were taking people to a basketball game locally, or to the amusement park, or to the arts museums, or the Black History, whatever the museums were, like whatever is in our city, college game, whatever. That's what we were doing. So do that. Don't let Dubai overwhelm you. Do that, and then one day, if you're faithful, God is going to put you in a position to take them, I don't know, to the moon. Some of y'all might take them to the moon one day or something. I don't know. But just keep believing. Yeah. Talk to us. Come on, give us.
I say, E, just to go off what you were saying, when you're speaking, it makes me, think about while we were there. And then you were talking about educators. So like when you said we went to Dubai, but you didn't want us just in any old place, right? So we went to Atlantis, which is, well-known resort there in Dubai. And we didn't just stay on the resort, right? Like we went to desert safari. We went to the Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building in the world. We went on a cruise on a boat. Like we just did all this stuff, right? Like above and beyond. So like when I'm thinking about the educators, showing up is just essentially that just being there is just that other hotel. Right? Hey, I'm here. I was required to come to work. That would have been like you saying, hey, I just told the kids I would get them to Dubai. Right? But that extra, hey, no, we're not just going to get to Dubai. We're going to live it up in Dubai, right? So if you're a teacher, I suggest you take the same approach, right? Because I've seen it, not even just in education, but just in youth development in general. It's simple to tell the ones that are here to say I was here and I did I'm just here so I don't get fined. And then there's that other group that you can tell is in the education space. They're taking the kids to the Burj Khalifa. They're taking the kids on the desert safari, whatever that may look like for them in their classroom. Right. So I think that's important. An important thing that you said was we're not just here to do the bare minimum. And they have to be okay with doing that without knowing the outcome of what that's going to actually bring, right? And not everyone has that. So I think that's the part that if anybody hears what you said, it needs to be that.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I love it. And you can bring these types of things into your classroom maybe as a start, right? So contact your local library and figure out what local free resources are even available that you can bring, authors in, or local sports teams or whatever it is that will visit your classroom, or maybe even just start by having them visit by Zoom. But there are baby steps toward exposure for kids that can be even free or local or digital. If that's, feels like a more entry level, like just get it started so that we can give kids the kind of exposure that they deserve to have.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it. All right, let's round robin it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, one principle, one thing we want to share with those that are listening. Again, I want to thank everybody that follows us regularly. This may be your first time. Welcome. All we want to do is enrich and enhance the educational experience for everybody: teachers, administrators, kids, parents, the communities in which the schools are in. We really believe in education. Like, we really believe in it. We all have gone through school. Like, all right, so we've all experienced academics, in some form or fashion. We all have educated, our babies, and we've all, by either example or professionally trained educators, and so we absolutely love learning. We love the schools. We love the buildings. We just love every part of it. And we don't want to see it die, and we don't want to see it fall off. We literally want to see education in America at its finest in all states, in all cities, in all counties, right? And so that's why we do what we do. So we're excited to have you. Spread the word. Tell other people about the podcast. Whatever your favorite edition is, send it to individuals, and we'd be honored, man, to have you guys as a regular participant. And maybe we got to come up with some keychains so we can send you guys the Mass Impact keychain, so you can always think about your favorite episodes, and when you get in the classroom, how you're going to take these gems that we're given and actually implement them. So, all right, we'll start with you, Katie. Let's one point to leave the listeners with.
Yeah, and I'll just say Vondale had to hop off because he's off changing the world, attending a mentor conference and planning for the next big trip.
I'm sure.
I'm going to go back to the very beginning when you talked about confidence and how when their confidence changed, I think you and Train both said this, the way they approached education after that totally changes. And I'm going to bring it back to books. This is what I'm always talking about when I say that when you let them read something they enjoy, they will become readers of all the other things that you want them to read. So it's a very similar, like get books in their hands that they're interested in. Their confidence level changes. They realize, I like to read, or I am interested in doing this. It's not that hard. Then they approach text that is, whatever else that you're wanting them to read. So we can take that concept of build their confidence and they approach education differently forever and apply it in lots of different tangible ways that you could start using today, even if you're not planning that trip to Dubai, right away.
Right.
Go ahead, Sam.
I think for me, Dubai represents thinking outside of the box. And so I encourage teachers to think about your year and in what ways do you want to think outside of the box to give kids some type of brand new experience that they've never had. And that does not mean going all the way to Dubai, like we've said, right? But Dubai represented experiential, engaging with different cultures, trying different foods, reading different materials. And so I just encourage you to think about your school year, and as you're planning, how can you think outside the box to give students a new experience that can make a huge impact on their lives and the way they think?
I'll just say, because E's never going to say it, but I saw the final bill on this trip, and I'll just say, if you are, if you feel it in your heart and in your spirit, and I know there's a bunch of, I promise I get texts and emails every day for fundraisers. All my friends got kids, and I'm like, look, I'm gonna need to do a fundraiser if I buy any more popcorn or Girl Scout cookies. But so I say I get it, right? But I can just tell you that we've seen this firsthand and the impact it is having. Mm-hmm. And whatever we aren't able to raise, through fundraisers, then E literally is just writing checks. And I think that people really need to understand when E says, because E all the time, you hear it, and I've heard people say it, there's anything I can do to help you out, E, just let me know. And it's like, here you go. Here's a link to the foundation.
But write a check. Yeah, I can do anything for you, but write a check.
Yeah, I can't write the check though. Exactly. So I'm just going to challenge people, and I'm not even necessarily talking just to the educators, because I know there's an underpaid space. They should be paid much more. Mm-hmm. But anybody who is watching this, who's in this space, who has the ability to, please go to School Days Foundation website, schooldaysfoundation.org. This really is life-changing work. And like I said, E doesn't really like reaching out to people like that, but I ain't got no problem saying it. So
I don't, but I just be like, okay, I'm reaching out to you. Can you help me? You know what I'm saying? Your pockets are big. Can you help me? So I'm grateful. Yes, for those of you who do want to support us, you can. I wanted to say, be fair. And my mother used to always say, there's no such fair, as where a pig gets judged, in a contest, right? But be fair. It's 180 days. Let the children get involved in their learning experience as much as possible. I know we're all teaching at different levels, but I used to love going to a restaurant with my parents. When we went to restaurants, it was back in the day, that was a luxury. Like, you weren't necessarily going to a restaurant every week, but because I got to order, what I wanted, and we went to Beef Carver. For those of you who are from Michigan, we went to the Beef Carver, and I used to get the prime ribs. And I just remember just the pride, and I get the waiter asked me, what would you like? And I'm looking at my parents, they're like, tell her what you want. I'm like, I want the beef ribs. It's 180 days. Let the babies get involved in some capacity. If you don't want to turn over your lesson plan, maybe a topic of discussion. No, I don't know what it is, but let them get involved and, get everybody involved so that, it doesn't seem that they don't have independence or they don't have freedom. We all like our freedom. We all like our independence. So I would just say our teachers out there, it's going to take it does require a little bit more when you get other people involved, but the engagement is so much richer when I get to have a say, in my learning experience. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. We turn it over to you, Coach B, and we'll see you guys next week.
Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Principal's Office here at Mass Impact, the education podcast. Today, we were talking all about how we can become more creative with the types of experiences that we are able to provide for our students. Of course, the School Days Foundation, ET's charitable organization, their youth exposure program just sent a whole group of kids to Dubai. That's right, Dubai, not a beach trip in Orlando, not to Yosemite. And those are great experiences and exposures too. But Dubai, it's all the way on the other side of the globe. And we were able to fly all of those kids out and give them the time of their life. A lot of us have heard ET say in the past that your level of success will be equal to your level of exposure. And so what he's really trying to do is expose these kids to something that maybe they've never thought about before. Maybe they didn't even know that it was possible. I remember for me, when I was a young athlete growing up in the sport of gymnastics, I was the only kid in my gym in Northern Alabama out in Huntsville. I was the only kid in my gym who was at the level that I was at. And so I never really thought about doing college gymnastics. I never really thought about the Olympics or anything crazy like that. And then I went to gymnastics camp for the first time, my first summer camp experience. And I got around people who were not just equally as good as me, but way, way better than me. I got around guys who were training to go compete at D1 institutions. I got around guys who were training to go compete at the Olympics. And it opened my mind to say, wow, maybe I could think that big. And that never would have even crossed my mind until I had gotten that exposure. So the question for you is, how can you be creative? How can you think outside the box? Now, I'm not saying that everybody has to have the finances and the ability to take a whole group of kids to Dubai. I'm not saying that. But what we are saying is, what can you do to provide a similar experience given what you have? Can you bring somebody in for career day that has an interesting job or experience that people wouldn't normally think about? Could you bring in a local motivational speaker that kids otherwise wouldn't have gotten to hear? Can you take them anywhere, even if it's another side of town that you guys are from? If you can take them and just give them that little bit of exposure, that little bit of excitement, that little bit of inspiration to see something that they've never seen before, that can be so incredibly valuable. And you never know what thought process that can spark in a child's mind. So we want to know from you. Leave a comment down below. What are you going to do to get creative? What are you going to do to think outside of the box and give these kids the exposure that they deserve? Till next time, we will see you on Mass Impact, the Education Podcast.